This is Savage, and welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at Virtavia's latest release. Well, I think their first release for MSFS. This is the short Sterling, and this is €30. I want that to sink in straight away. Obviously, the sitting off the ground thing is an MSFS issue, that's whatever. Now, the Sterling was a 4-engine British bomber from the start of the Second World War. It was our first 4-engine bomber, and it served in the RAF and the Egyptian Air Force, technically. But it was replaced pretty quickly in the war with the Lancaster and the Halifax, which were far more capable. It served between 39 and 45, so it did take on other roles, which we'll talk about, and 2,300 were built. It was designed in the late 30s to confirm with a requirement from the Air Ministry, and it entered squadron service in early 1941. It had good handling, it could outturn night fighters in many cases, but it had a mediocre ceiling, was one of its main criticisms. Now, it was mostly a bomber, like I said, until it took on the duties as a laying mines, as a glider tug, and as a transport for paratroop drops, etc., and as transport. Rapidly replaced by the Lincoln, which was the Lancaster's transport variant. Now, this pack includes 3 versions. Only one livery of each, but we have a Sterling Mark 1, Whiskey 7451 of 7 Squadron, RAF Oakington in Cambridgeshire in 41, a Mark 3, Echo Fox 411 from 149 Squadron at Mildenhall in late 42, and a Mark 4, which is the Paradrop and Glider Tow one, which was Lima Kilo 117 from 570 Squadron at RAF Harwell in Oxfordshire. Now, the aircraft itself had a crew of 7, pilot, second pilot, navigator / bomb aimer, front gunner, wireless operator, 2 gunners, and a flight engineer. Now, she was 87 feet long, wingspan of 99 feet, stood 22 feet tall, empty weight of 49,000 pounds, gross weight of 59,000 pounds, max takeoff of 70,000 pounds, powered by 4 Bristol Hercules 11s, and that varied between different marks. Now, she had a max speed of about 245 knots, cruised at around 170 knots, and she had a range of 2,000 nautical miles. So, decent aircraft, and we talk about the rate of the service ceiling, that was about 16,000 feet. Yeah, not great. And rate of climb 800 feet a minute, so not fantastic. Armed with up to 8 303 machine guns, 2 in the nose, 4 in the tail, 2 in the dorsal, up to 14,000 pounds of bombs. Now, this comes with PBR materials and textures throughout. Again, standard these days, but that, I think, is the biggest difference in this aircraft from their FSX version. I'll tell you why in a moment. We have a WY soundscape with the Hercules engine sounds. We have switches, knobs, clicking sounds. Detailed cockpit and numerous animations. That is a big improvement for them, I'll give them that. Lawrence indicator, which is the DME/Nav1 system in modern terms. Toggleable crew ladder. Crew figures. Animated cockpit windows, bomb doors. We have animated cowl flaps. An authentic flight model. They're actually flying today to check. And a full manual. Now let's go take a look around this aircraft, shall we? Now at first look, the cockpit does look rather nice compared to previous Virtavia aircraft. But we're going to go outside and get disappointed kind of quickly. Now, I will be the first person to say, this is a huge improvement over what they had in FSX. Huge. But I can tell it's been brought over. Look at our tail gunner there. Look at how many polys he's got. We'll see worse. Now, I like this. It's not terrible. And considering it's most likely the only Sterling we'll ever get, it could be far worse. Let that sink in. This is a good chance to be the only Sterling we get. Now, this is the Mark III, I believe. And it isn't bad, but it's not great. I'm very kind of neutral when it comes to a lot of these things. I believe this model, if I'm correct, the Mark I used Bristol Hercules 11s, and then we had Bristol Hercules 16s in the Mark III. So this is the, I believe, as Echo Fox 411 is the Mark III from 149 Squadron. This is using Bristol 16s, and the Mark IV had 16s as well. Now, texturing, it's very flat material-wise, and you can tell it's kind of FSX, FS9 textures on the aircraft. Those have not been updated. The model's reasonably realistic, but it's also kind of low poly. The crew look terrible. Really terrible. Those are straight out of FS9. Look at that face. That face has seen some stuff. But it's materialed well. And the PBR materials polishes things pretty well, actually. It makes something kind of low poly look actually almost not awful. I'm trying to think of compliments. Like I say, it's probably the only sterling we'll ever get. So I'm thinking of positives here. I don't think we'll see another sterling. A Lancaster we're going to see. The sterling? No. Yeah, I mean, look at the dorsal turret here. That is not great. So the exterior is mediocre, but we spend most of our time in the cockpit. So let's go take a look at that, shall we? Put my controller down so I can reach this time. Now, for a first time, Virtavia with opening windows. This is kind of crazy. Oh. We can leave it open. These two rear hatches behind the cockpit. We can open this, this, and this. Which is kind of cool that we can open the windows. And the cockpit, I will say, is a huge improvement for them. Their cockpits being very largely unclickable and windows didn't open, that sort of stuff, were always a big no-no for me. I didn't like that. But at the same time, it was FSX, it was FS9. These things were kind of normal. But it isn't as bad as I think. Not bad. So let's have a quick look down here, shall we? So, instruments, not terrible, not great. A lot of reliance has been put on the materials. A lot of the textures are very similar. But you can see exactly what these materials do to the sim in terms of giving us these things looking better. Now, what I would have liked is an angle down here where we can actually see what we're putting in for the auto controls on the Sterling, which it did have to be able to hold altitude and heading. Now, a lot of stuff's unclickable, of course. I'm pretty sure our radio systems are non-functional here. This would, I believe, be the intercom back here. We have our various lamps that do work. We can, of course, move our arms there. De-icing. Are you going to stop? Yeah. So we have altitude and we have heading systems on here. The speed system on the real one wasn't actually used, so that is there, but it doesn't work. Because the real one didn't use them. Which is fair enough. So that... I don't know what that is. Let me quickly check the manual, because I don't know what that stuff does. I looked at most of this stuff, but that lever has escaped me. That is not marked, which is hilarious. A direct view window. Oh, that's the straight out the side. Okay. Hiding, sliding one there. Armrests function. Booster core switches animated but don't have a function. We've got nav lights and Peter heat, they do function. That is the radio controller. Ah! Okay, the lever of the TR9 remote radio controller is used to toggle the 3D pop-up radios. Oh! That's cool. Okay, okay. So by doing this, we could actually pop up a modern radio. That's neat. I'll give them points for that. So rather than a 2D pop-up, we have an actual 3D pop-up. So you can actually put in nav and com channels. That is a surprisingly neat little feature. Now what do we have down here? We have... That's our crew ladder, I think, and that's our crew toggle. So if we were to go outside here, the crew have disappeared, leaving the aircraft rather vacant. And we can get the crew ladder down there. So small mercies, little neat features, but it's a lot to really kind of save the whole package. Virtavia seem to be selling this, and we're going to start up and get going here, because we've spent 9 minutes already on the ground. But there's a lot to see. Of course, we have our bomb doors down here as well. We'll have a quick look at those. Down here, under the wings and under the fuselage. A lot of space for bombs. That was its kind of purpose. At least they work, right? Lights to show they're open. Right. I'm just going to throw the switch here on my honeycomb. There's no realistic startup procedure for this aircraft. So we're just going to go with that. Oh, the mixture's not open, so I'll crack the throttles. Okay, we have a good start. So they will say, unlike a lot of developers who charge more for better aircraft, at least the sound changes when you open and close the windows. All of the windows, actually. It's a little delayed coming on, but... And the sounds are not wonderful, but there you go. Let's get ourselves taxied out here, shall we, at Shoreham? And we'll take her for a quick spin around the block. So I'm going to use my 2 right engines here to help turn us on the spot a little bit better. So pull back the lefts. Probably turn my head on here, that'd be a good start. Navigating this on... These taxiways are not going to be sufficient. No, these taxiways are not going to be helping at all. Let's try and get ourselves out to the runway here. I mean, it's not bad from the cockpit. It's not awful, but I have to say this is definitely along the lines of a $15 aircraft. Virtavia is selling this for €30. And €30 worked back in FSX and P3D when there was much lower sales. Same with FS9. It worked then because it was all you had. Now, it doesn't work. It's just not valid. I'm sorry. Let's go for 1 notch flap, so we'll go throttle on here. And we're going to hold back on the controls. As with the Sterling, you took off tail down. It's very placid on the tail wheel, actually. No real slew to either side. Nope, she lifts. I'm going to lower the nose here. Neutralize my controls as she lifts. Gears coming up. And begin our climb out. So she flies like she should. But that is a simple metric there. Again, from the cockpit, it doesn't look terrible. It looks okay. I would fly this. I'm not a huge Sterling fan, but I would fly this. This is not a bad aircraft from the cockpit. But their pricing model is based on the kind of prices that were withstood for FSX and FS9, where there was a much smaller market buying these things. Now, there's a huge market buying things, and your prices do not last. €30 for this is far too much. If this was €15, I'd happily buy every single World War II aircraft they produced in this state, because it's enough. It's good enough. And that's about as hard as I can go in terms of a compliment. It is good enough. We're over Shoreham, by the way, in the UK. This is stock airport scenery, so it's nothing special. Let's bring her around here. Power back the inboard engines to help tighten the turn. But yeah, this isn't a €30 aircraft in the slightest. For that, I expect systems depth, I expect a far better exterior. The interior is definitely new and improved from FS9 and FSX. Dramatically so. Far better. It's definitely got a long way to go, but it's considerably better than they've done. Now, if we're all getting these kind of interiors in their aircraft and we'll see some of their other products, I'd be excited, because the Blenheim I don't think we'll ever see from another developer, and they made an okay one. I like the Blenheim. And the Boston as well. Both great aircraft. And the Hampton. I love my old kooky British bombers, the twin engines, and a few of the others. They're wonderful aircraft. There's Shoreham below us. We'll circle out to sea and we'll bring her in for a landing here. We'll use the asphalt this time. But the exterior is terrible. No way to sugarcoat that, it's not good. But at the same time, it is kind of moderated by the interior being far better than they're used to. More things are clickable than normal. And why are my engines operating at different performance levels? They're at the same setting. So port engines are running harder than the starboard engines. So I'm still running my prop lever heads on those, and maybe I'm feeling them in different places, but they're close. Airport's behind us there. Good visibility in this thing, I will say. Let's bring the speed back here. Engine sounds a bit low, not quite that good, kind of floppy. But we don't exactly have Bristol Hercules engines to really test. Well, there's some, but yeah, the sound pack's not wonderful. Again, it's expensive. But if you like British bombers, I don't think we're going to get a Sterling from anybody else. So it's kind of a... Do you stomach that, or do you hope they drop the price? Because I think they did a good job. I don't think this market, though, is going to tolerate that price. The market's different now. I am quite low down here from where I should be. Let's moderate our speeds here. We're a bit slow, 110, which should be our final approach speed. Dropping it down to 90 and then 80 for the landing. These old girls do land quite slow. This is a very tight final turn here. And I'm way low, but we'll make it work. Let's tighten that turn. Port engine's back. Look how quickly she turns. When you pull back at the port engines and just let the starboard's going to push you around. Differential thrust is a fantastic thing. Coming over the beach here at Shoreham. And we're set up nicely for the runway there. Little off to the side, a little bit of rudder. Bring the power back, we're at 100. Let's bring it back to 90. Little to the right. Idle the power out here. Watch the displace threshold. I might need that room though, given how big she is. Oop, bit of a bonk there. Bring the tail down. I landed quite quickly there, I do apologise. But we bring her down. It's not terrible, but it's not great. I like it in that it's a far better Stirling we've ever had. And this is a far better short Stirling than we've ever had in this simulator. By a good mile. The outside lets it down horribly. The price lets it down significantly. I mean, the thing is, the texturing is definitely port over, but the modelling is far better on the interior. The texturing could be better. The modelling, though, is much, much better. It's decent on the inside, but the texture lets it down. The exterior is low poly and low res, and I'm just going to turn off on the grass here because this thing has no way it's going to fit on those taxiways. And we'll pull it over to the side here. See, I'm throttling up on my... Why are they stopped? The hell? That's weird. Right. And they're still going. I want to like this aircraft. It's a little bit of a letdown, but it's good in other ways. And I think this is very much just a decision you'll have to make for yourself. If you like British World War II bombers, you might buy it if you've got the money to spend. There are far better things to spend 30 euros on in the flight sim world, unless you absolutely need this. I hope Virtavia see this video, because I like what they've done. I really like the improvement they've made over their older models. I think they've done a good job. The exterior could have done with being the same as the interior, because the interior, far better. If you'd updated the exterior as well, I'd really be more positive. I'd really like it quite a lot more. And I do think the price is a little steep. Not a lot. Okay, it's steep. It should be about 15 for what you're getting here. And I think you'd sell a lot more copies at 15. People would be willing to give it a whirl. Considering there's no systems depth and it's definitely port over exterior model, 15 euros would be a good price. It has about an equally full positive and negative column on this aircraft. Hopefully the video helps you decide. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!